What's up, guys? It is Rick Ginn. If you guys don't know me, my name is Rick Ginn. I've been wholesaling for 21 years, and I'm one of these guys kind of addicted to wholesaling. I enjoy it. It's had such a prominent change in my life. It's had a huge impact on my family. You guys know my son's story with Zach. And the purpose of this channel is to bring it to you and break down and make it super clear on not only how to get started in wholesaling, but actually how to make it a business. Let's jump into the three opportunities, the insane opportunities in wholesaling now. Enough of the fanfare. So I'm going to get to this so we can all talk and get it going. So what are the three? I'm going to throw out, you all know this one because you haven't been in this world in 2023 if you haven't heard about this. And it's a little thing called AI, artificial intelligence, AI. I don't care what business you're in. I don't care what school you're associated with. I don't care who your parents are. If you haven't heard about AI, you should probably just get off this video right away. AI is the ability for computers to learn through the human language and actually learn and figure out how to respond. And it actually gets smarter because AI doesn't die. It lives forever. And with every syllable, every letter, every interaction, it learns. It's absolutely insane. I knew one day it'd be here. I just didn't think it'd be here this soon. Now, I will tell you, we're going to get exactly how it affects wholesaling. But from an immediate perspective, I can tell you this right now. If you call anybody for customer service, probably in the next 3 to 6 months, you're going to have no idea if you're talking to a computer or a person. And in 1 year, I guarantee that's 95% of the calls that you're going to make. So if you're going to complain about your internet, your cable, whatever, your grocery bill, anything you order, it's all going to be automated. Why? It's faster, it's cheaper, it's actually more reliable. The employees never call in sick. And so, okay, great, Rick. How does that relate to wholesaling? Let's get into it. There is not one business on this entire world that's not affected by AI. So if you go, well, I'm not going to do AI, I'm just going to stay off of it because I think it's just a fad, you're crazy. Just like cell phones were a fad, the internet was a fad. I'm telling you, it is here to stay and it's going to affect every part of your business and even your personal life. So let's get into it. The best way, we use it right now, are just digital bandit signs. You go, Rick, well, that's not really AI. It is. And I tell you, someone's going to get like super smart, someone way smarter than me, probably Zach. And they're going to figure out how to have the digital bandit signs, where it's just the ability where you post bandit signs online. You guys know how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, go over to freewholesaling.com. And someone's going to find a way to interact with these people with like a DM or a PM. Now, we're not quite there. These chat bots, I've worked with a lot of them, but they all have like a lot of flaws, but they're learning. And as they get smarter and they get better and the code gets better, it's going to get ridiculous. Right now, it can handle about 30% of the interactions. That's about it. What's it going to take for the other 70%? It just takes time, coding, and learning. So that's the first one. The next one, the way we're going to get government lists in the future, AI is going to be everything. You guys can use AI. So specifically, what do we use in AI in wholesaling to make it work for us? Is it like, Rick, I don't understand. Do I just type in AI? No. Chat GPT, you can use BART through Google. These are absolutely, I like BART because it is real time. Chat GPT is delayed. So I believe there is a 24-month delay, and there's certain areas it just will not go down that rabbit hole. I guess it's the government's trying to protect everybody. But remember, the government does not run AI. They're going to try to regulate it. I have no idea where it's going to wind up on this. But your ability to get government lists, and you can automatically send emails. You can send it to thousands of people in one shot on Chat GPT. It's unbelievable. And here's the really cool part is whenever you guys type in there, it learns from you. And if you don't know what I mean, you just got to try it out. If you tell it to dumb it down, if you tell it to make it longer, shorter, more abbreviated, it will do any of that stuff. Where was this when I was in school? But probably a good thing because I never would have learned anything if I let a computer do everything for me. How you request government list is going to be unbelievable, especially with emails. Eventually, you can have chat robots call people and request a list, although I highly recommend against that because it's hard enough for a human to get it. I think a computer is going to have a real struggle, but at some point, when you have a computer talking to a computer, that might all change. So keep it in mind. So a lot of you request between 6 and 9 government lists. I've always told you, if you can just get a quarter to half the list you request, you're making progress. And this is how life works. You make progress. You're never going to get 100% of what you ask for. And if you do, you're not going to be challenged in life, and life's going to be very difficult. So use it for government lists. What else we use it for? Dude, comping. Actually, AI has been helping comping through all these APIs, which is basically how you get the Zillows, the Trulios, the Realtor.com, all that stuff. They're automated APIs that are tied in. You put in an address and it has an algorithm and it manually computes it, automatically computes it for you. Back when I started in wholesaling, my AI for comping was going to a realtor's office and asking him what the value of a property was. Now, here's the good news, bad news with this. I'm telling you right now. The good news for you as a homeowner, so those of you that own homes or even looking potentially to buy it, you now are armed with a ridiculous amount of information. In the old world, you had to go to a licensed realtor to get all this information. AI has basically found a way to basically cut through the realtor and give the data to the homeowner. Bad news for realtors, good news for homeowners. So where does that leave the wholesaler? I'm here to tell you it's a little confusing because I will tell you more people fight me and my company and go, I know exactly what my house is worth. Unfortunately, it's never that simple as what's on a computer. You have to look at the condition of the house. You have to decide what type of transaction they need. Do they need speed and convenience? And do they have the ability to have the house inspection? Is it going to meet normal financing requirements? There's still a lot of factors to play into it. But one thing's for sure, AI has changed how the homeowner views them basing the value of their property. And that has changed drastically since I've started. When I first started, we didn't know how to get all these government lists and everything. But I will tell you, homeowners didn't really understand the values of their house. So my biggest competitor was always a realtor, was never another wholesaler or anything like that. Now AI's put it in their hands, but I'm here to tell you, it's not as easy as homeowners think it is to sell their house. A lot of them think they can just call open door and it's sold in one shot. It's not that simple anymore. And we're going to get a little bit further into that. The other part, which I will tell you, this one, honestly, I never had the ability to do this until AI came along. And I'm talking specifically about ad copy, creating content. Now, if you're brand new to wholesaling, the really cool part is AI has made this much, much easier. You just put it in ChatGPT, you can use Bart, and the ad copy flows. No longer do you have to try to duplicate other people's ads. Honestly, you can find other people's Facebook library ads. You can pull them up and you can rewrite them, put them in the ChatGPT and spit out your own version. Honestly, the stuff that's written is actually better than most content creators that were paid thousands of dollars, because I used to pay these people and you had to use the exact right words. No longer, because with AI, ChatGPT, Bard, all this other stuff, you can play around with it till you get the exact copy that you actually get a response from. And honestly, I never knew how to write ad copy. I had to learn it over a 10-year period. So if you're just starting out now, AI, this is a monstrous plus for you guys, because you don't have to overly think, okay, well, Rick, where would I do this? If you guys have any type of websites, which I think the whole website landscape's going to radically change with AI. I mean, radically. A lot of our websites right now are antiquated and they don't do much. We're talking about stuff with like the metaverse and all that other stuff. I'm not going to go down every rabbit hole, but a simple landing page, which is what I recommend for everybody else. You do not need complicated websites. Nobody cares. Nobody gives a crap who wrote it. It doesn't do a lot for people. Your best website, in my opinion, is social media, Facebook, Instagram, places like that where people can go and see if you have other testimonials or anything like that. It's one of the best places to do it. It doesn't cost you a dime and it's so easy to put together. Websites are complicated. You've got to use all different types of applications for it. And honestly, most of you paying $60 to $80 a month to host a website, it's a joke. You're better off spending that money on marketing. Nobody gives a crap. You're better off having like a Facebook fan page, Facebook group page, whatever it is, and just highlight your business. And you can put testimonials, videos, pictures, whatever you want in there, and it doesn't cost you a dime. And you can control and you run the narration of your page. So if you're going to have a landing page just to capture seller's information, this is where AI is absolutely amazing. You can simply take a Podio form. It's 100% free. Create a landing page from it. There's lots of other services you can do this with. Any type of web form, a one-page landing page just gives a spot where people can fill out their address, their name, their contact phone number, and email. And from there, that's a lead. And that's where I use AI to write the content. And I don't make it overwhelming. I simplify it and I'll play with it for hours. It works really well. I used to have other people write this for me. So if you guys are looking to do a landing page and get some sort of lead page so you can capture sellers' information. It's the best way to do it. Sellers do not want to look at 36 pages of like a million different forms to go through a website. I would never do it. Most people don't do it. I think websites are going to drastically change with the AI in the next few years. So let me see, where am I here? Okay, we're getting through this. So the last one is sorting data. My God, just using AI through BART, ChatGPT, and guys, there's a host of others. I like it. It changes so fast. I'm not an AI expert. I'm a wholesaler, and you're going to find a lot of wholesalers have moved over, and now all of a sudden they're AI experts. Guys, how did that happen? These are the same people that ran the Amazon stores, who wanted to have you trade on Forex, that want you to do all these other funds. They go to the latest, greatest thing. When wholesaling was hot, it was great. But the problem is they're going to constantly bounce around. Stay away from people like this, because they're there just to take your money. They are sprinters, and sprinters never make it to the finish line. So when it comes to data sorting, you can actually have ChatGPT sort data. If you want to get crime statistics, you want to get a certain amount of how many transactions were done in an area with certain criteria, you can sort all this. You can do it from crime. You can do it from demographics. You can do it from the U.S. Census Bureau, guys. All public data. You can find out who's moving in a state, who's moving out, where's the biggest influx. Obviously, Texas and Florida has been the biggest push, but you can find all this stuff out in real time in any type of AI application. It works phenomenally. You're getting much more real-time data. And at some point, I'm praying to God that the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, will listen to us and start giving data in like real-time reports. It would be great to get a daily, if not weekly report, but how about just the last 30 days? Did you know that most NAR data, the Realtors Association, it's 3 months behind? And honestly, by the time they're giving that 3 months, it's closer to 5 months by the time they put that data in. And they do it on purpose because they want you to navigate everything through the realtor. With the day and age of technology and AI, if I can get a stock or a digital coin and get it to value in per second, why can't I do the same thing in real estate? I think eventually someone's going to come out with it, and it's going to be major game changing. Now, the National Association's Realtors data, they have a national database. You guys can look it all up. And then you have your local MLSs. And remember, all real estate is local. But this data, guys, is absolutely amazing. My problem is it's very dated and it's not great for wholesalers. It's good to look back a year. But if you're looking to where to go the next quarter or the next 2 quarters, the information is terrible because it's so dated. They hold it back on purpose because they want the realtors to have the advantage with it. I could go on and on about this, but I won't. Okay. Opportunity number 2, interest rates. This is where it's getting good, guys. Honestly, I've never been in a market where we have such a disparity in interest rates. And this is absolutely, we are living in a time in wholesaling that honestly, we have never gone through. But I'm going to tell you the pluses of why this is a good thing. A lot of you are like, oh my God, it's such a struggle to get people to sell their house because they're trying to hold on to the low interest rates. It's going to change. And I'm going to tell you why. Interest rates right now, as I shoot and live stream this video, is just under 7.2. It's about 7.13, 7.18, depending on what day you look at it. That's for a 30-year normal mortgage. Now, if you go get a jumbo, which I believe is 500,000 or 600,000 or more, that goes up to about 7.3, 7.4. Okay. I didn't think we'd tip 7%. I really thought it was going to level off, but we are not in control here. You have your federal government, and the federal government tell you we don't run it. The Federal Reserve runs it, which is an independent council, which unfortunately is appointed by the president of the United States, but they run independently, meaning the president doesn't tell them what to do. So their biggest concern is inflation. And I don't know, I've been to the grocery store. Everything's still costing an arm and a leg. I think most of the numbers are reported. They're trying to get it down to 2%. I believe it's stuck at 4%, and it's showing signs of going back up. So we potentially could have 1 or 2 more interest rates hikes. I have no idea, but I believe these interest rates are going to hold for the remainder quarters of this year. So we're getting ready to go into Q4. Rick, get to the point. How the hell does this relate to wholesaling? Listen, interest rates. You think the interest rates going up would just destroy the real estate market. It's had the opposite effect because we had a time period, we had the lowest interest rates in US history. So we've gone from the lowest interest rates in US history to the highest interest rate in the last 40 years. And catch this, this just came in last week. We have hit an all-time low for mortgage applications applied for in August. What does this mean? Honestly, I don't even know anymore. But I will tell you what the side effect is going to be of this. I believe that inventory is going to remain low, and the Fed actually wants the opposite to happen. The only way the Fed's going to make the opposite happen is they actually have to lower. If they lower interest rate, guess what? Everybody would start selling their home, period. But as long as it stays high because of fear of inflation, this is going to lock down. Now, the crazy part is we're going to roll into next year, 2024, and we're talking about interest rates here. Guess what? During an election year, which is 2024, interest rates usually tend to hold pretty flat. So I believe we're going to hold at this period for quite a while, probably maybe a year or so. I have no idea. I'm making my best guesstimate because that's all it is. Now, it doesn't matter in wholesaling. It's not going to change what I do. Why is this important? Well, I will tell you this. Who does this affect mostly? It's your cash buyers. You have to have an incredible amount of cash buyer intel. And what do I mean by that? In the old days, when interest rates were really low, cash buyers were a dime a dozen. And the reality is you could do whatever you wanted with your cash buyers. Honestly, most wholesalers treated them like crap. Today, you have to do the opposite. You actually have to develop relationships with them. You got to get to know them, and you have to vet them to make sure they're not other wholesalers just looking to steal off your list. You want to find real cash buyers looking to buy in the areas that you market for motivated sellers, and you got to make sure they have the funds and they're ready to go and they know what they're doing. A lot of the old cash buyers you dealt with, they don't even want to mess with today's interest rates because if it keeps going up, they're going to be in trouble. So cash buyers are looking for good discounts. They're looking for quality properties. And most importantly, looking for wholesalers that actually understand and know what they're doing. Now, you have to work with your cash buyers. If they've never done an assignment of contract, you have to teach them. And odds are, if they've never done an assignment of contract before, that deal's probably not going to work out because I don't have 2 weeks to train you on how to do it. You refer them over to your title company and you learn with them. But you have to work with your cash buyers because there's a lot less of them. They're much more picky, and you need to understand exactly what they want. Remember, who's your customer? Your cash buyer is your customer. Your motivated seller is your product. If you do not appease your customer, don't worry about the motivated sellers because you'll never, ever get this business straightened out until you figure that part out. Okay. So we can't treat our cash buyers like garbage. Let's talk about this, the slingshot effect with interest rates. The crazy part is I got people at 3%, 3.5% interest rates over here. And then I got 7.25% over here. On average, 3-point difference is monumental. Let me tell you why. People are taught to so there's no more refis. I mean, guys, there's zero. Unless it's a cash out refi on a commercial, it ain't happening. It's not going to happen. So before we get into residential, let's talk about commercial. There's so much commercial debt out there at 2, 3, 3.5% interest rates. And one thing in commercial debt, it's not like you get a 30-year like you do on residential. A lot of it comes up in 5, 7, and 10-year increments. Well, guess what? Trillions of dollars are coming due, and that's going to have a drastic effect on the market. I don't know how it's going to impact it, but that money, when it gets refinanced or reconfigured, the cash flow is going to hurt really bad because you can't just raise rents way up. And in fact, most apartment rental rates are dropping. So this is going to have a catastrophic effect on rentals, specifically apartments, because that's the one thing that they are mass building all over the United States right now, because it actually makes sense still. As crazy as that sounds. Number 2, the slingshot effect. If I have a house at 3% and I want to upgrade, I go, but man, I am not paying 7.25%. What does that person do, guys? They sit tight. They hold tight. They do nothing. I'm going to knock this thing over. They do nothing. So if you ever had like a slingshot, you know, when they kind of pull it back and they hold it, we're in that hold position right now. I went through this, guys, 2007, 8, and 9. I went through not the same scenario, but it was definitely a slingshot. And what that means is after people started selling and the inventory unloaded, it was unreal for the next 10 years. It was a little bit painful for 2 years. I'm not going to lie to you, but I made do of it. I still flipped enough houses. I did plenty of wholesaling because that's the only thing that was moving. And for the next 10 years, I've never seen such easy pickings in my life. You guys are in that phase right now because eventually when those interest rates break, maybe we sneak up probably to 7.5%, maybe. I don't think that's really that far off the stretch there. But when those interest rates can get back down to 5.5%, 5%, guess what's going to happen? All those people holding that slingshot back, they're going to let go and they're going to sell. Let me ask you, over the last 2 years, how many bad houses do you think have been sitting on the market that need to be sold? How many of you wholesalers have seen crappy houses and they go, because of the interest rates, I just can't sell right now? And it is going to be unbelievable when interest rates drop, what's going to happen to inventory. I think you're going to see when interest rates normalize and people start doing refinance and stuff like that. Guys, refinances is a big part of the real estate industry. So no refinances, no one wants to buy new. And we have over a third, if not 40% of all properties in the United States being sold by cash right now. Never in history before have we seen numbers like that. So at some point when the Federal Reserve decides to take their foot off the hold on the Federal Reserve rate and get us back down to like a 5%, in my opinion, is a very, honestly, anything in a 5.5, drop it 2 points, I think you're going to see inventory go through the roof. And guess what, guys? When inventory goes through the roof, there's going to be a lot of sellers. There's a lot of people not taking care of their houses. They're run down. They have renters that aren't paying. They can't afford to fix them up. Just look at the repairs you've done either in your apartment, your home, or anything in the last few years, and think about all the people that have put off because inflation's jacked the rate up. Guys, there's a slingshot effect and it's going to come. It always happens in real estate. In 2008, 2009, nobody wanted to sell. Don't worry, everything's going to fix. Guess what? They all gave up in the end. Now, those weren't normal interest rates and inventory exploded. We went from 3.5 to 4 months to 27 months in less than a year and a half. At some point, this lock hold on inventory is going to give. Now, it's not going to happen overnight, and I don't really even predict it this year, but something is going to let loose. I've always told you, remember when I told you when they started raising interest rates? Real estate is the long-term play. It does not change overnight, but once it gets to changing, it's like dumping gas on a fire. It goes crazy. So we're watching a lot of these key factors. Here's the good news, guys. No matter what happens, wholesaling always works. What I'm trying to tell you is if you learn the skill sets of wholesaling right now and you learn to talk to people and you get the basics out of the way, and it's painful. Like, it's not fun. It is what it is. You have fun while you do it. But once you learn that skill set, imagine if your leads tripled, if not quadrupled, because the inventory started easing and then people feel like they could trade houses more freely. That's going to give you a lot more opportunity. A lot of people, even in my company meets up, they go, Rick, we'd love to tell you, we just can't afford to right now because when I give up my 3% interest rate, I can't pay 7.25%. And houses are significantly more of a cost. So I think eventually prices will flatten. If not, some areas have already gone backwards and inventory is going to explode. Now, I've seen a lot of influencers, the economy is going to crash and this and stuff. I'm not going to go that far because number one, I don't have a crystal ball, but I will tell you this interest rate pinch, at some point, it is going to slingshot this market and it's a good thing for wholesalers. And I believe we need a more balanced market, but I still wholesale every day, guys, which leads us to the next one, motivation with interest rates. When interest rates get more normalized, people are like, okay, I'm going to sell because I can trade this house, I can get a better house, and it doesn't cost me any more in interest rates. When that happens, you're going to see an explosion in inventory. The reason we have prices are still steady, if not climbing, Florida is still climbing. This is absolutely nuts. The reality is there's such a disparity in interest rates. Nobody wants to pay the higher amount and they don't want to pay the higher real estate prices. And so a lot of people are making decisions just based purely on money. And unfortunately, 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. They don't have a choice. So keep that in mind. So the last part is, and I want you to understand this, is what can we do now on like deals that just don't completely make sense, or I can't get the cash buyer until they get it right? We are going to do reverse wholesaling. I've done this from day one. It works really well. I didn't invent it. It's been around since the 50s. So if anybody wants to take credit for it, they're full of it. It's just been around forever. What did it do? All it means is you do it backwards. You do it backwards. It's like learning a dance. You got to like, if you ever put like the feet marks down on the ground, and by God, I need dance lessons more than anybody. So I got multiple events I got to come up to. Maybe somebody can help me out in the crowd. But you got to put down the little footsteps and figure out the dance before you do this. And how does it work? It's real simple. You need to find a motivated seller. And if you're not quite sure on the terms, but they're highly motivated, go out and get cash buyer intel. And all you're looking for is someone to pay you, I like to say significantly more than what you're going to pay for it. But here's what you got to do. You got to create longer contingency periods because you're uncertain about this property. Not all properties fit this criteria, but a lot these days, because sellers will not come down on their price, but the house needs love and it needs help. You just need to find a cash buyer that's willing to take on these types of projects. Now, you're going to have longer contingency periods. My recommendation on any property that you're not comfortable with or the numbers not making sense, 30 days. If you can't find a buyer in 30 days or less, you probably don't belong in wholesaling. Don't try to take on a property that you're unsure with, you can't get comps, and try to do a 7-day inspection period. It's suicide, guys. Don't do it. So if I have a tight deal, and we do this all the time, if the deal's tight and the seller don't come to the number, but I know they're motivated, I'll put it on a contract. I'll do a 30 to 45-day inspection period. If we can't get good traction in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we just let the property go. We tell the seller it's just worse than what you thought. And unless you can take a discount, if you can knock the price down, I have to get out of the contract. And I don't feel sorry for people like that because honestly, they know the price needs to be lower, but they need some sort of incentive to do it. And once I go out and find cash buyers won't pay for it, I tell them, listen, I confidently can't buy it for this price. And I don't lose sleep about it. Now, when you guys get a smoking deal, you put it under contract and you do wholesaling the normal way. But because we're in such a crazy time in the real estate market, reverse wholesaling works really well this way. The biggest challenge you're going to have with the reverse wholesaling is you guys want to put stuff under contract. You don't want to put it under contract and then you want to bring your cash buyers in and you have to resist that urge. You have to find a way to have some sort of protection before you bring your cash buyer in because people are just weird. Not everyone's going to do what they say they're going to do. That's just how life works. So you need to understand that going that. So the best way to do reverse wholesaling, once again, I cannot emphasize this enough, is your relationships with your cash buyers. Not only do you have to get great cash buyer intel, but you have to have incredible relationships with the cash buyers. Because if you don't have a great relationship, you're not going to get the information to facilitate a great reverse wholesaling deal. I'm telling you guys, this stuff works.